ago. I would say 20 years ago.
Well, then you're fitter and stronger.
Oh, you reckon? I think you should help me here because I'm not slightly worried I'm not going to get up. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay!
So there you go, folks. Celebrating 50th anniversary of Look North. Harry, you've been here most of that time, haven't you?
I have, yeah. We've worked out that there's been, I think, 13,000 episodes of Look North, and I've done nearly 9,000 of them, so it's one of those things really, but a very special day for us, quite an emotional day, certainly for me, because I never thought I'd get this far, to be honest. Well,
you know what, I want to talk about how far you've gone this week in a second, but so you've got Amy with you as well. Amy, so it's quite an emotional time, this, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I tuned into Radio York this morning, and they were playing lots of clips back from the archive, and I started to get a bit of a lump in my throat, because it is a really momentous occasion, isn't it? And I'm thrilled that I'm presenting the programme with this wonderful man, who is, one of the longest standing presenters of Look North, and it's a real honour to be able to celebrate it with him tonight, and with the rest of the team at Look North. There's a real party atmosphere upstairs.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, it's very special.
Well, I'm just going to show people where we are. Here we are at BBC Yorkshire, but tonight, actually, I'm going to show where you're going to be broadcasting from, because you're actually back to the old...
We are.
This must bring a lot of memories back for you.
Well, it does, because Radio Leeds was there as well, of course, and I moved over in back end of '81 from Radio Leeds, and I've had 2 stints here. I stayed here till '95. And then I ended up in South Today for 4 years in Southampton, and came back in '99. So it was 2 stints of, we're working it out, 18, 19, 32 years here, and another 4 or 5 for South Today. So 36, 37 years as a performing seal.
and I'm not going to be unkind here, but I have actually got, we're going to do a before and after. So there we go, look. Yeah. If you want to come round here, that was then, and this is now.
Wow.
And do you think more handsome now?
Definitely now. You look better with less hair.
Oh, thank you.
But to be honest with you, Harry, we've got some amazing photographs here from some of the. I'll put them on, and you can just guide people through and just. I mean, you must remember all this kind of old technology.
Yeah, the old black and white, of course, and that was the first ever Look North broadcast by David Seymour on the left there, and he'd never broadcast in his life before that moment, and he became an absolute star of the BBC as well. Some great names from the past. When we've got that's Mike McCarthy, of course, with that's Claire. Is that Claire? I can't recognise her. I can't remember who that one is.
I think that is Claire. She looks younger now than she was then, doesn't she? That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And what I'm going to show people, Harry, is that before I'm just going to show them a little clip. I know you've got to get off, but and this is a couple of minutes clip of what's going to be on TV on Sunday night.
Sunday at 4 o'clock.
But before we do that, I've just got to remind people that you can still do it, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, please.
Come on.
Do,
I mean, this has been an amazing week for you, hasn't it? So word sofa to 70205, £100,000 pretty much. Here was when I caught up with you earlier this week, looking a little bit worse for the weather. But obviously you've had a bit milder times, and you've been carrying there, you're pushing it. It's been tough though, hasn't it? It's been a tough week, but it's been a rewarding one, both of you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's been tough on my knee more than anything else. I think I found it particularly hard because of that. Tomorrow we're back on the road, Bradford to Haworth. So that will be tough as well. We've had a day off today.
I feel like we should be in the office moving furniture. It feels odd not to be pushing up on something, but it's been an incredible week, very humbling, and we've just been so overwhelmed by the wonderful support from our viewers that have come out. But yeah, I mean, emotionally draining and physically really tough as well. But tomorrow's the last day, and I think we're up for the challenge, aren't we? We just want to finish it now, and we're so thrilled that we've got past the £100,000 mark. So thank you so much to everyone who has donated, and if you haven't managed to do it yet, please do, because it's for a...
I've just put a picture up here, Amy, as well, of you and Harry from the bike ride last year, and then there's another one I just want to show of you and Paul doing the three-legged walk. Are there going to be any more, Harry, or is that it?
No, there aren't.
You say that. You say that every year.
My boss is guffumping at the back there, but no, I think maybe a major challenge is not a possibility, but we'll see.
Well, your boss is indeed going to actually be taking us on a tour of the building. But before I do that, I'll show people the little clip. This is on BBC One Sunday 4 o'clock. So thanks for your time, guys, and congratulations, 50th anniversary.
The 1980s was very notable for me because I started presenting Look North in 1982, and the one thing I feel very privileged about is that I've been lucky. Yes, I've had so many wonderful partners who've held my hand. And here's one of them, Judith Stamper.
Judith, you don't look a day older.
Harry, hey, listen, you don't either, but we're as young as we feel.
We are. Let's have a look at some of the great Look North moments. Look at, what about this title sequence? Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah, I think there were about 3 or 4 when we were... I like this one, though.
The whole thing, though, was so exciting, wasn't it?
Oh,
I used to feel anticipation before we went on
had
air.
some big stories as well, and we were at the heart of a changing world, I think, in the 80s.
Look how far apart we were. I'll sit here.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What I loved about what we did is we did some groundbreaking stuff as well, didn't we?
Oh, incredibly, because in those days, we were the first.
In those days.
Because, well, you know, two-headed presenters, we were the first on Look North.
Yeah, we were.
So that, as I say, is just about it from the programme for tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it.
And of course we had some fun, didn't we?
Goodness me, you always did these kind of little items at the very end of the programme, so I couldn't answer you back. It was just awful.
So if you don't mind, it's good night from me. And Judith, pass us up, please. Thank you. You shouldn't be in here, you know.
Oh, dear me.
Ah.
Oh, no. Oh,
Rick Mail. Rick Mail.
no.
This is still the piece that goes down as far as, you know, one of the great moments of Look North television.
I'm going to do the one thing that every man in Yorkshire wants to do. Come on, Jude. Give us a snog.
Oh, my God. Will I make it?
Now,
Oh,
Rick Mail.
no. I didn't know what to do, Harry. I just didn't know what to do.
Now the television.
Again, it was at the very end. Just imagine if I had to do an item after this.
So there we go, that's 50 years of Look North, and bringing right bang up to date, I've got the main man himself, the acting head of BBC Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. I'm just going to put your title up there, Tim. It's very special there, isn't it?
Thank you, Graham.
Tim Smith. So, Tim, just tell me a little bit about 50th anniversary. Let's just talk about that show that people have just seen a clip of first.
Yeah, well, 50 years, an awful lot of Look North in that time. 13,000 editions, I think there have been. Harry gets teased because people say he's presented all of them. He's actually presented 8,000 or 9,000 of them, though, I think. So this is Look North 50 years on, I guess. This is our newsroom. We've got lots of journalists working on different things, but of course it's not just television which is made here. It's the website, it's the BBC Sport team, it's Radio Leeds, it's our social media team. So there's all sorts of people working on different bits, and we have to tell the story on different platforms these days, like every other organisation.
And I suppose we shouldn't forget the likes of your office out in Sheffield. I mean, it's all part of Yorkshire, isn't it? It's all part, very much an important part of the network.
Absolutely. We've got a team in Sheffield, we've got a team in York, we've got some people in Bradford, and of course we now have 2 editions of Look North. We have one that covers most of Yorkshire, North, West and South Yorkshire, and we've got one based in Hull which covers East Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. And we found that once we divided it up, it became more popular because it was more local, more relevant, and viewers seemed to like it.
Well, I'm just going to remind people where we are. We're here for the 50th anniversary of BBC Look North, and this is where it all begins, really, isn't it? This is where a story comes in, or where they're found, and then it feeds right up until the end user experience where people watch it on TV. And we're going to go up there, and we're going to go in the studio and give people a quick look.
So I'll take a quick tour.
Yeah, let's do that.
Lots of journalists doing lots of different things, and I'm having to learn to walk backwards, which is what reporters and cameramen normally do. But here you've got the main news desk, so you've got people doing radio news bulletins. Rod is in charge of tonight's 6:30 programme. What you can see on his screen, this is the Yorkshire Post, Rod. What you can see on his screen is the running order for tonight's programme, which, as we said earlier, is a special programme from our old home on Woodhouse Lane. So Rod will coordinate the whole day, decide which stories we do, how much time each story gets, and then if you step this way, once we get to 6:30 this evening, the real nerve centre of Look North is in here. So this is what's called the gallery. It's quiet at the moment, but later on today this will be full of people. So this is where the director of the programme sits, and he will decide which camera in the studio, we'll see the studio in a minute, or which outside broadcast source to select. So he might want to go to a satellite truck in Bradford, or a live camera in Sheffield, or something like that. There are lots of different places he can go to, or he can select to put on the programme tonight.
So this is very much the nerve centre, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So at 6:30 tonight there will be a team of people in here. There'll be the director who's in charge, there'll be the sound operator at the back here who has to make sure that the right microphone is faded up, so whether it's the weather presenter, whether it's the main presenters, whether it's a guest, whether it's someone on an outside broadcast. You've also got the technical manager, and most importantly of all, the news transmission assistant. This is we have a woman working for us called Diane Marshall, who's been here for 40 years, and she's brilliant. She is the voice in reporters and presenters' ears, and she's the one that keeps us to time, because we only get a fixed amount of time from network BBC One. So we've got to make sure we squeeze everything into 27.5 minutes, as it usually is.
Fantastic. I'm just going to remind people what we're doing and actually where we are. There's a shot from outside the building here. This is very much a state-of-the-art building celebrating the 50th anniversary of BBC Look North. But this is where it all began, Tim, isn't it? And you're actually back there, I think, doing some things there tonight as well.
Yeah, so this is old Broadcasting House. This is where Look North was broadcast from the early 1970s until the early noughties. And it's now part of Leeds Beckett University, and they've kindly let us take it over again tonight. So we're going to do the programme in the round. So Harry and Amy and Paul will present the programme as usual, but with an audience of former presenters and former staff. So if you can imagine an edition of Top Gear with presenters in the middle and audience all around them, that's the sort of thing we're trying to do. So we'll see. We're trying something different. I'm taking you upstairs now because I'm going to take you up to the studio. Well, actually, I'm going to take you to two studios. So we have the main studio, which you see each night. We use it for Look North. We also use it for a couple of other programmes here, the Sunday Politics and the Super League show. But we also have a smaller studio, which I'll show you in just a tick, which we use for a couple of things. Before that, we're going to have to walk through the canteen we have here.
This is where guests wait to go on as well, isn't it?
That's
sometimes
right, yeah.
in this kind of area.
And if you step this way, as guests come on the programme, we have a couple of things on the wall which may or may not inspire them, I don't know. So just here, this is a panel of, I suppose you might say, inspirational Yorkshire people and some of the things they've said. So this is Helen Sharman from Sheffield, obviously the first British woman in space, and a quote from her.
Brit in space.
First Brit in space, indeed.
Yeah.
We have Corinne Bailey-Rae from Leeds. We have Peter O'Toole, Alan Bennett, Charlotte Bronte, all sorts of people who you'll know and love, who've been on Look North and who've graced Yorkshire, I suppose.
It just shows you how great this county is, isn't it?
Exactly. So if you step this way, talking of great, this is Paul Hudson's secret hideaway.
This is his shed, is it? This is his man cave.
It is. He describes it as the room of wonder.
All right, let's have a look at that.
Sure about that.
Let's have a look.
So the lights should come on. So if you come in, what you'll see is this, what looks like a curtain, but is in fact a green screen. So if I stand here, you should be able to see me with, I'm guessing, Graham, a green background behind me?
It looks a little green, a little grey green, yeah. But if
right.
I come round here, this is really odd. I'm seeing myself as well now. So this is what it would. That's technically what it would look like with the green screen, and that's where you then superimpose the weather maps.
Yeah. So what we do is this is a small studio which we use for two things. We use it for the weather, and we also use it for one other thing, which I'll go on to in a minute. But if you look on the floor, you'll see this is so high tech. There's a little sign saying weather, which means that when you're doing the weather, you have to stand here. So if you now look up, you'll see I'm on the left of the camera shot. So if I'm being a weather presenter, what I'll do is I'll wave my arms like that, and I'll say it's going to be sunny over there, but unfortunately there's lots of cloud coming from the south, etc., etc.
You've missed your way.
You'll notice I'm not a weather presenter. But if I move over here to this other piece of extremely high-tech sticky tape on the floor, it says 8 p.m. So if you stand here, you'll notice I'm sort of just about in the shot. We have a tiny news bulletin at 8 o'clock in the evening, just after EastEnders. And we put it there because a lot of people are watching telly at that point, and we present a short bulletin from here, then just giving people the headlines in case they've missed it. And that actually gets the biggest audience of all. But this is where the 8 o'clock presenter has to stand.
So this is a Look North studio in its own right.
Exactly.
No red couch, nothing that fancy in it.
So the screen behind me, you can project a weather map onto it, or if you've got a guest, a politician maybe, who's on Newsnight or the BBC News Channel or even some other broadcasters, they come in here and we put the live shot of the Leeds skyline behind them, and that's where they're grilled by whoever it may be at the other end of the line.
So, Tim, are you telling me then that the red sofas and all the sparkle that we see is just all make-believe?
That's just round the corner.
Come on then.
I'm saving the best bit till then.
Go on then.
So if we come through here,
that's fascinating.
Out of Mr. Hudson's Wonderland, and then we step this way. Again, it's a quiet time of day, which means we can get in the studio. It's dark at the moment, but if you just step this way.
Now, this looks more like it.
Have a look around. we have a red sofa.
Yeah, there we go.
Feel free to sit on it. We can sit next together.
Well, it's not wet and covered in snow, is it? I've got to ask you about that.
It's a dry one. It's a dry one. So we have the sofa, and then behind you, if you pan around, you've got 3 cameras. So at 6:30 for the main programme, I'll come a bit closer and you can hear me.
Yeah.
6:30 for the main programme, there are camera operators here. So there'll be one man or woman behind each camera, and they'll be taking direction from the gallery that we saw downstairs earlier, from the director. And he will select whichever camera he wants. But for the shorter bulletins, there's nobody on the cameras. They're automated, they're in fixed positions, and the director can still choose between them, but there's nobody moving the cameras. So because they're shorter bulletins, they're slightly less ambitious. We don't do as many weird and wonderful things as we do at 6:30. So we can sort of use the studio depending on how ambitious we want to be. There's a screen over here, which is where Paul stands. So Paul will present the weather. There's probably another high-tech mark on the floor. He usually stands about here, and with the camera way back, the perspective does usually look just about right.
Yeah, I get it. I've got you just about there if you want to take his job. But that, no, it's a fascinating insight, Tim, into what is in everybody's homes every night, isn't it? And it has been for the last 50 years.
And a lot of people say it's a lot smaller when they come in here than it looks on television, because television can create illusions. And if you look up, probably the most complicated bit of the room is on the ceiling. So these are all different lights. And you're probably thinking, why do we need so many lights in here? And that's because different presenters have different skin complexions, so they need lighting slightly differently. Or you need to light somebody differently if it's one presenter, or if it's 2 presenters, or if it's 3 guests on the sofa. And we also present different programmes from here. So we do a programme called the Super League Show. Yeah. We use the same studio, we use a different sofa, and we use a different backing. And later this afternoon, we're going to be moving the set around because we have our weekly politics show, Sunday Politics, which is often recorded on a Friday. There's another secret. And that uses the same studio as well.
But basically, just to remind everybody, all this multi-thousand-pound piece of lighting equipment up here is to make Paul Hudson's skin look better every night.
It's a difficult job, but somebody's got to do it.
All right, Tim. Well, listen, it's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you for that very brief but fascinating look round here at BBC Look North. I'm just going to show people again that we're actually at BBC Yorkshire, which is in the heart of Leeds. You will be broadcasting from Woodhouse Lane tonight.
Woodhouse Lane at 6:30 tonight, yes.
And I guess if you watch back on the technology we've just been showing you, some of the tour, it'll look a little bit more impressive than that there. But you know what, that red couch, it's earned its money, hasn't it? And it's earned its money this week. Before we go, I just want to remind people, if they still want to take part in this, they can actually donate.
That's really kind of you, Graham. We've now raised more than £100,000 for sport relief. And we're really grateful for all the donations that people have sent in. You simply have to text SOFA to 70205 and that donates £5 to sport relief, and all the £5 goes to the charity. It's a really worthwhile cause. So we do appreciate it.
It's amazing, and it is Sports Relief Day, isn't it? As well,
it is Sport Relief Day. We've actually given Harry and Amy a rest today, and they were set this challenge to go to 50 places with the sofa. They're going to finish the challenge tomorrow when they go from Bradford, from Cartwright Hall at about 10 o'clock in the morning, all the way to Haworth. They'll be going through Willesden, they'll be going to Sandy Lane, they'll be going to Cullingworth, they'll be going over the Hewden Viaduct, I think. They were due to finish yesterday, but we had to postpone the Bradford to Haworth leg because of the snow last weekend. It was just too much snow to get us over through.
And of course, if you didn't see the start of this broadcast, please dip in from the start, because you'll see the unveiling of the plaque downstairs to mark the 50th anniversary. And on Sunday at 4 p.m. on BBC One, there's a fantastic programme. Just remind people what that is, and I'll just show a little clip from it right at the end.
That would be lovely, Graham. So on Sunday, 4 o'clock BBC One, we have a special programme which Harry's presenting. It's called 50 Years of Look North. And it looks back at some of the biggest stories in Yorkshire over that time, some of the people who've made the news, some of the presenters who've presented the news, and some of the funnier moments on Look North as well.
All right, Tim. Well, listen, on behalf of Yorkshire and Lincolnshire and beyond, thank you for 50 great years, and we can't wait for 50 more. And this is the programme that's going to be out at 4 p.m. on BBC One. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Please share and like this and tell all your friends about it. And you'll love this. This is a great piece of nostalgia.
1980s was very notable for me because I started presenting Look North in 1982. And the one thing I feel very privileged about is that I've been lucky. Yes, I've had so many wonderful partners who've held my hand. And here's one of them, Judith Stamper. Judith, you don't look a day older.
Harry, hey, listen, you don't either, but we're as young as we feel.
We are. Let's have a look at some of the great Look North moments. Look at, what about this title sequence? Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I think there were about 3 or 4 when we were. I like this one though.
The whole thing though was so exciting, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I used to feel anticipation before we went
had
on
some
air.
big stories as well, and we were at the heart of a changing world, I think, in the 80s.
How far apart we were. I'll sit here.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What I loved about what we did is we did some groundbreaking stuff as well, didn't we?
Oh, incredibly, because in those days we were the first.
In those days.
Because, well, you know, 2-headed presenters, we were the first on Look North.
Yeah, we were.
So that, as I say, is just about it from the programme for tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it.
And of course we had some fun, didn't we?
Goodness me, you always did these kind of little items at the very end of the programme, so I couldn't answer you back. It was just awful.
So if you don't mind, it's good night from me and Judith, pass the soap, please. Thank you. You shouldn't be in here, you know.
Oh, dear me.
Ah,
oh, no. Oh,
Rick
no.
Mail. Rick
Oh,
Mail.
no.
This is still the piece that goes down as far as, you know, one of the great moments of Look North television.
I'm going to do the one thing that every man in Yorkshire wants to do. Come on, Jude, give us a snog.
Oh, my God. Will I make it?
Now,
Oh,
Rick Mail.
no. I didn't know what to do, Harry. I just didn't know what to do.
Now the television.
Again, it was at the very end. Just imagine if I had to do an item after this.